The black doorway closed behind them with a sound like stone grinding against stone. The air grew heavier at once, hot, metallic, and tinged with a sharp scent of iron. Honey squinted. They were standing in a vast hall, its walls carved from red rock that glowed faintly as though fire burned deep within. Above them stretched a ceiling of endless arches, disappearing into darkness. The floor was etched with spirals and circles that pulsed faintly with crimson light. Every step Honey took sent ripples of energy running across the ground, like the entire hall was alive and listening. Metty's fur bristled. She padded carefully ahead, her tail twitching. Honey noticed her gaze kept flicking upward, to the darkness above, as though she sensed something hidden there. "Where are we?" Honey whispered. His voice echoed strangely, repeated 1,000 times until it faded into silence. He shivered. The walls that remember. They moved cautiously through the labyrinth of halls. Each passage twisted unexpectedly, doubling back, leading them in circles. Honey dragged his hand along the walls to mark their path, but the grooves vanished within moments, the stone smoothing itself as though erasing his memory. "Even the walls don't want us here," he muttered. Metty suddenly stopped before a wall. Her paw brushed its surface, and light flared across it, revealing carved images that moved like living paintings. Honey froze. The carvings showed scenes, armies of beasts clashing, towers collapsing, rivers turning black. At the center of every image was a figure holding the same moonstone Honey now wore. But the faces of those figures were blurred, erased by time. "What does it mean?" Honey murmured. The carvings shifted again. This time, they showed a cat with wings of fire, standing beside the moonstone's bearer. Honey's gaze snapped to Metty. She stared at the wall, her ears flat, her eyes glowing faintly gold. "It's you," Honey whispered. Metty didn't move, but her body trembled slightly. Before he could say more, the light across the wall faded, and the carvings went still once again, as if they had shown too much. The voice in the labyrinth. As they pressed onward, a new sound began to follow them. At first, it was faint, like wind in the cracks of stone. But it grew steadily louder until Honey realized it wasn't wind at all. It was whispering. He couldn't understand the words, but the voices multiplied, echoing from every corner. His skin prickled. Then, from the shadows ahead, a voice rang out clearly, deep, smooth, and cruelly familiar. "Honey!" Honey froze. His heart hammered in his chest. That voice. It was the same that had roared against him in the Valley of Echoes, the shadow. Metty growled, her fur standing on end. The shadows ahead rippled. From them stepped a figure, tall, cloaked in black, with eyes that glowed red like burning coals. The air chilled instantly. "I warned you," the shadow said. "Each step you take draws me closer. And now, here we are again." Honey lifted the moonstone, which flickered weakly in his hand. "I'm not afraid of you." The shadow's laughter shook the walls. "You should be. Do you even know what you carry? Do you even know what she is?" Honey blinked. "She." The shadow pointed at Metty. She hissed, crouching low. "She is no simple companion. She is the fragment of a guardian long dead. She was bound to the stone, given flesh, so she could follow its heir. But fragments break, Honey. Fragments cannot last." Honey shook his head. "You're lying." "Am I?" the shadow sneered. "Look into her eyes. Have you never wondered why they shine like the stone itself? Why she fights as though she remembers battles older than your bloodline?" Honey looked down at Metty. Her golden eyes burned like embers in the dark. For the first time, doubt pierced his chest. But Metty pressed against his leg, a low rumble in her chest as if to say, "Don't listen." Honey gritted his teeth. "I don't care who she was. She's with me now. That's all that matters." The shadow's laughter deepened, reverberating through the hall. "Such brave words. Let us see if you still say them when she is forced to choose between you and the stone." The shadows surged forward like a living tide. The crimson beasts. From the ground itself, forms began to rise, creatures of red stone and fire. They crawled out of the floor, their eyes burning like molten lava, their claws scraping against the walls. Dozens of them, each the size of a wolf. Honey backed up, clutching the moonstone. There's too many. Metty leapt forward, a snarl ripping from her throat. She struck one beast, her body blazing with golden fire again. The creature shattered into fragments. But more took its place. Honey raised the stone, light bursting outward. It burned through several beasts, but the glow weakened almost instantly. The stone wasn't infinite, it was draining him. The shadow's voice rang out, "You cannot fight forever. The labyrinth feeds on your strength. It remembers your fear. And soon, it will take everything." Honey staggered, sweat running down his face. He could barely keep up. The beasts were endless. Each one he destroyed seemed to return in another form. "Metty," he cried. "We can't keep this up." Metty snarled, slashing through another wave. Then suddenly, her body flared with light so blinding it filled the entire hall. Her form grew larger, towering over Honey. For a heartbeat, her wings burst fully into existence, vast, blazing golden wings. She roared, not like a cat, but like a creature from another world. The beasts shrieked, their forms cracking and shattering under the force of her light. Honey shielded his eyes, stunned. "Metty!" But as quickly as it came, the transformation flickered. She collapsed back into her small feline body, panting, her glow dimming. Honey scooped her into his arms. She trembled, but her eyes still burned fiercely. The shadow's voice echoed with cruel amusement. "Ah, the fragment awakens. But fragments cannot last. She will burn herself out long before your war is over." Honey glared into the darkness. "Then I'll burn with her, if that's what it takes." The shadow chuckled. "We shall see." And with that, the figure dissolved into mist, vanishing. The beasts crumbled to ash. Silence fell once more. The heart of the labyrinth. Honey staggered forward, carrying Metty. His arms ached, his chest burned, but he refused to stop. The crimson halls twisted endlessly until finally they reached a vast chamber. At its center stood a black pedestal, upon which floated a shard of glowing red crystal. It pulsed with the same rhythm as the labyrinth, as though it were its heart. The moonstone around Honey's neck blazed in response. He felt it pulling toward the shard, resonating with it. Metty stirred weakly in his arms, lifting her head. Her eyes locked on the shard, and she let out a low growl. Honey frowned. "Is this what we were meant to find?" A whisper filled the chamber, not the shadow's voice, but something older, colder. "The stone cannot be whole without its broken halves. But wholeness is not always strength. Sometimes it is the beginning of ruin." Honey's hand shook as he reached toward the shard. The moment his fingers brushed it, pain seared through his body. Visions exploded in his mind, cities burning, oceans rising, endless war. And through it all, the shadow, rising higher, stronger, unstoppable. He cried out, dropping to his knees. The shard hovered before him, waiting. Metty pressed against him, her body glowing faintly once more, her warmth grounding him. Honey clenched his fists. "No, I won't let it end like this. If the shard is dangerous, then I'll make it mine before the shadow does." With a trembling breath, he grasped the shard fully. The chamber shook violently, cracked spiderwebbing across the walls. Crimson light poured into him, colliding with the moonstone's glow. It felt like fire and ice ripping through his veins. Metty yowled, her glow flaring as she pressed against him, sharing the burden. The last thing Honey saw before darkness swallowed him was the shadow's face forming in the cracks of the chamber walls, grinning. The moonlight had barely faded from the sky when Honey felt the pull. The moonstone around his neck no longer shone with calm silver light. It pulsed, restless, like a heartbeat struggling to break free. Each beat tugged him in a direction he didn't understand, deeper into the wilderness where the air seemed thicker, the ground warmer, and shadows grew longer even when no sun shone overhead. Metty walked beside him in silence, her tail lashing from side to side, golden eyes glowing faintly in the dimness. She had not spoken since their clash with the shadow of time. Honey could feel it too. The silence was not empty, but expectant. Something was waiting. "Do you feel it too?" he whispered, his fingers brushing the moonstone. Metty's ears twitched. "It's calling us. The stone wants to return home." "Home?" Honey frowned. "You mean it belongs somewhere?" The cat's eyes gleamed as though reflecting a fire only she could see. "Not somewhere, honey. Somewhen. But to reach it, we must go through places where even time refuses to flow." Before Honey could respond, the ground beneath them trembled. The forest floor cracked, glowing red fissures slicing through the earth. The trees groaned like living things being torn apart, their roots blackening. The air filled with the sharp stench of sulfur. A vast rumble echoed beneath their feet. Then, without warning, the earth split wide, and Honey and Metty plunged downward into fire and shadow. They fell, not into fire, but into silence. Honey landed hard on a floor of crimson stone. The impact knocked the breath out of him, but he clutched the moonstone tight, its glow cushioning him from worse harm. Metty landed gracefully at his side, wings flaring just in time to catch the last of her fall. When Honey raised his eyes, his breath caught. They stood inside a labyrinth. The walls stretched upward, impossibly high, carved from glowing red stone that pulsed faintly like living flesh. The air was heavy, metallic, filled with the scent of ash and iron. The ceiling was lost in shadow, yet veins of fire crawled like molten rivers through the cracks in the stone above. The whole place thrummed with energy, alive, watching. "This place," Honey's voice cracked. "Where are we?" Metty's fur bristled. "The Crimson Labyrinth. A prison built by time itself. Many who enter never leave." Honey's stomach dropped. "Then how do we get out?" Metty's golden eyes flicked to the moonstone. "With that. It's both a key and a curse. But beware, Honey. The labyrinth tests more than strength. It devours fear, doubt, and desire." Before Honey could ask more, the labyrinth shifted. The floor shuddered, spirals of light igniting across its surface like ancient runes awakening. Somewhere deep inside, a horn sounded, a low, resonant note that seemed to vibrate inside Honey's bones. And then the beasts came. From the red walls themselves, shapes tore free, monstrous creatures of stone and flame, their bodies jagged, their eyes burning coals. They moved like predators, claws scraping against the glowing floor, leaving trails of molten sparks. Honey stumbled back, clutching the moonstone. Its light flared, answering the threat, blazing like a star against the darkness. The beasts hissed, shadows recoiling from its glow. Metty leapt forward, wings bursting open. They weren't ordinary wings. They were wings of fire, radiant feathers flickering and reshaping with each movement. With a fierce cry, she unleashed a wave of burning light that blasted into the nearest beast, shattering its molten chest. But the others surged closer. Honey's pulse hammered. "What do I do?" Metty's voice echoed in his mind. "The stone listens to you. Command it." Honey raised the necklace high. He thought of the beasts, of their fire, of their hunger, and willed the light to grow. The moonstone flared so bright it painted the labyrinth in silver-blue brilliance. A beam shot outward, striking one beast, then ricocheting across the chamber in a web of luminous arcs. The monsters shrieked as cracks spread across their stone bodies. One after another, they crumbled into shards, dissolving into smoke. The chamber fell silent again. Honey's chest heaved as he clutched the stone, still pulsing hot against his skin. His hands trembled, not from fear, but from the strange rush of power surging through him. He had never felt so alive, so infinite, and so afraid of himself. Metty padded closer, her wings folding. "Good. But remember, Honey, the stone answers your will, and your will must be steady. Power without focus will consume you faster than any beast." Honey nodded shakily, but the stone's heat did not fade. If anything, it grew warmer, hungrier, as though the battle had only awakened it further. Then came the voice. Not from the beasts. Not from Metty. Not even from the labyrinth walls. From deep within the shadows at the far end of the chamber. "Little guardian, you carry what is mine." A figure stepped forward, cloaked in shadow. At first it was nothing more than a silhouette, but then the glow of the labyrinth fire caught on its features. A tall entity, its face hidden beneath a hood, eyes blazing red like dying stars. Its presence was suffocating, bending the air, thickening the shadows. Honey froze. The air around him turned icy cold despite the burning walls. Metty arched her back, hissing, wings flaring with fire. "The warden," she whispered. Honey swallowed hard. The warden. Meti's voice was tight. The labyrinth's master. The one who decides who may leave, and who must remain forever. The warden's gaze fixed on the moonstone. You dare carry the heart of time into my prison? Foolish child. That stone was forged long before you drew breath. It belongs not to you, nor to your kind. Honey clutched it tighter. It chose me. I won't give it up. The warden's laugh was low, like rocks grinding together. Chose you? No, boy. It cursed you. And through you, it will open the labyrinth. But only if you survive me. The ground split. Chains of fire erupted from the floor, coiling and twisting around the chamber like living serpents. The warden raised one hand, and from the chains, more beasts crawled forth, larger than before, their bodies blazing with inner fire, their claws dripping molten rock. And the war for time itself raged on. Honey's throat went dry. His legs trembled. But Meti stepped forward, eyes blazing. Honey, her voice cut through the chaos, this is not just a fight. This is a trial. The labyrinth tests you through him. If you fail, both of us will be trapped here forever. Honey tightened his grip on the stone, his fear melting into determination. Then we don't fail. The warden spread his arms wide, shadows twisting into a storm around him. Come, little guardian. Let me show you the true weight of time. And the labyrinth roared alive. The battle began. The monsters lunged. Honey raised the moonstone high, its light blazing against the crimson walls. Meti leapt into the air, her wings a burning shield. Flames clashed with moonlight, shadows clashed with fire, and the labyrinth floor glowed brighter with each impact, runes spiraling outward as though recording the fight. Honey felt the stone surge with power, guiding his hands, his thoughts. But deep inside, he sensed the danger. The more he drew from it, the more it pulled at him, whispering promises of boundless power if he just gave himself completely. He couldn't lose himself. He had to hold on. For Meti. For the forest. For the future. The warden's red eyes burned through the smoke. You cannot win, child. Time is not yours to command. But Honey's voice rang clear, filled with a courage he didn't know he had. Maybe not. But I can fight for it. The roar of the labyrinth thundered through Honey's chest, shaking his ribs as if the very walls of the world had become drums of war. The red glow of the stone walls pulsed faster now, spirals of light racing across the ground, feeding the beasts that crawled from the chains of fire. Their molten claws scraped the floor, each step leaving smoking scars on the crimson stone. Meti's wings blazed brighter, her body alight like a living flame. She leapt forward before Honey could move, slashing at the first beast with talons of fire. The monster howled, stumbling back, its body cracking where her flames seared it. But the others pressed closer. Honey! Meti cried, her voice echoing inside his mind. The warden controls them. Cut through his shadow, and the beasts will fall. Honey lifted the moonstone high. Its glow seared his palm, but he didn't let go. He pictured the warden, tall, cloaked, eyes burning red, and willed the stone to pierce through him. A silver beam burst forth, cutting across the chamber like lightning. It slammed into the warden, who raised a single hand. The light shattered against his palm like glass, fragments of brilliance scattering into the air. The warden chuckled, a sound like distant thunder. Child, you play with forces you cannot comprehend. That stone holds eternity, and eternity does not bow to mortals. Honey's heart hammered. The stone had failed. But before despair could root in, Meti's voice cut through his thoughts. Focus. The stone isn't a weapon, Honey. It's a mirror. It shows what you are inside. If you doubt, it falters. If you believe, it shines. Honey's chest burned with fear, but also with determination. He thought of the forest, the rivers, the trees, the quiet songs of birds. He thought of his mother's face, of the laughter that once filled their home. He thought of Meti, loyal and fierce, who had never left his side. He gritted his teeth. I believe. The stone answered. Its silver light surged again, brighter, steadier, piercing the labyrinth's gloom. The beasts shrieked, staggering as cracks split their bodies. The warden stepped back, his red eyes narrowing. Interesting. the shadowed figure murmured. "Perhaps you are more than a child after all." He swept his hand across the chamber. The ground lurched, spirals of energy twisting into towering walls. The labyrinth shifted, reshaping itself. Honey and Meti were pulled apart, the floor splitting between them. "Meti!" Honey cried, reaching out. But the wall rose higher, separating them. Her voice echoed faintly in his mind. "Stay strong, Honey. Find me." Then she was gone. Honey staggered forward into a new corridor, his breath ragged. The walls here were narrower, glowing veins of fire crawling like serpents across the stone. The air was heavier, pressing against his chest. The moonstone pulsed against his heart, tugging him forward. But with each step, whispers filled his ears. "You are not enough. You will fail her. The stone will break you, as it broke the others." Honey shook his head, clapping his hands over his ears. "No, you're not real." But when he looked up, he froze. The corridor opened into a chamber, and standing there, in the center, was his mother. She looked exactly as he remembered her, gentle eyes, a warm smile, arms open. Her voice was soft, tender. "Honey, come to me." His throat tightened. Tears stung his eyes. He wanted nothing more than to run into her arms, to feel her warmth again. His legs trembled, moving without thought. But the moonstone burned, searing hot against his chest. Its light flared, and the figure of his mother flickered, distorting. For a moment, Honey saw her eyes flash red, the same burning red as the warden's. He stopped. His breath hitched. "You're not her." The illusion tilted its head. Then it grinned, lips stretching too wide, voice warping into the warden's echo. "Clever boy. But how long before your heart betrays you?" The false mother dissolved into smoke, and the chamber shook as a beast of pure shadow rose from the ground, its form shifting, writhing, never settling into one shape. Eyes glowed all over its body, each one staring at Honey. Honey stumbled back, clutching the stone. His fear surged, but he remembered Meti's words. "The stone is a mirror." He forced himself to breathe. He thought not of fear, but of love, of protecting, of enduring. "Get away from me!" he shouted. The stone exploded in light, blasting the shadow beast. The creature shrieked, its many eyes melting into darkness before the whole form collapsed into smoke. Honey fell to his knees, gasping. The labyrinth's whispers faded. For now. Somewhere far away, Meti battled her own trial. She stood in a chamber filled with mirrors. Each reflection showed her not as she was, but as she might be, a weak, ordinary cat, a beast chained by fire, a creature twisted into shadow. The mirrors hissed at her, voices clawing at her mind. "You are nothing without him. You are cursed, not chosen. You will fail, and he will leave you." Meti's wings flickered uncertainly. For a moment, she doubted. Then she closed her eyes, remembering the countless nights Honey had held her, trusted her, believed in her even when no one else had. She opened her eyes. "I am Meti, his protector, his friend, his fire." Her wings burst alight, fire surging brighter than before. She lashed her tail, and the mirrors shattered, the whispers silenced. But in the fragments of broken glass, she glimpsed something, an enormous shadow, moving toward Honey's chamber. Her golden eyes narrowed. "Hold on, Honey. I'm coming." Back in his chamber, Honey staggered to his feet. The labyrinth pulsed with heat, as though it were alive and angry. And then, through the smoke, the warden appeared again, taller than before, his cloak trailing shadows that hissed like serpents. "You resist well," he rumbled, his voice filling the chamber. "But every labyrinth has a heart, and to reach it, you must break. All guardians break." Honey raised the stone, his grip steady despite the tremor in his legs. "I won't break." The warden's red eyes burned brighter. "Then let me show you the truth of eternity." He lifted both hands. The walls of the labyrinth split wide, and a flood of red fire roared forth, surging toward Honey like a tidal wave. Honey's heart froze. The wave was too big, too fast. He couldn't stop it. But before it struck, a fiery shape burst through the smoke. "Meti!" Honey cried. The cat soared above the wave, wings blazing brighter than ever, eyes burning gold. With a fierce cry, She unleashed a torrent of fire that clashed with the red flood. Steam and sparks exploded, the chamber shuddering. She landed beside Honey, her fur singed but her gaze fierce. "Together," she said. Honey nodded, gripping the stone. "Together." The warden's laughter rolled through the chamber, low and ominous. "Then come, little guardians. Show me if your bond can withstand eternity." The labyrinth shook, runes spiraling outward like beating hearts. And the true trial began. The ground split wide beneath Honey's feet, lava spilling into glowing rivers. The labyrinth screamed, not with a voice, but with 1,000 grinding stones echoing in agony. The warden slammed his staff down, and the crimson walls rose higher, forming a cage of fire. "You cannot escape," the warden thundered. "This is where all challengers perish." Honey clutched the moonstone tight. Its glow cut through the smoke and heat, wrapping him in a faint aura. He remembered the guardian's words, "Sacrifice your desires, and you will hold the present." Meti stepped forward, fire dripping from her wings, her golden eyes locked on the monstrous figure. She growled low and steady, and then spoke, not in meows, but in words that rippled through Honey's heart. "We end this together." Honey gasped. Meti's voice was clear, like a flame given shape. But he had no time to question. The warden hurled a wave of shadows, black serpents twisting through the air. Honey lifted the moonstone, its light burst outward, burning the shadows to ash. Still, the warden laughed. "Light flickers. Darkness endures. Not if the light refuses to die." Honey shouted. Meti leapt high, her wings fanning a storm of fire. Each beat sent waves of golden flame across the chamber. The monstrous beasts born of red stone screamed as they crumbled into dust. Honey surged forward, the moonstone blazing brighter with each step. He reached the glowing spirals on the chamber floor. For a heartbeat, he understood, these spirals weren't chains, they were veins. The labyrinth was alive, and it was crying out for release. "Meti!" "The spirals!" The cat dove down, landing beside him. Together, they pressed their power into the spirals. Fire from her wings, light from his stone. The entire floor ignited, not red this time, but white gold, pure and blinding. The warden roared. His cloak of shadows tore apart, revealing a skeletal figure bound in crimson chains. His eyes flared wildly as he staggered back. "No. This prison is my power. Without it, I am nothing." Honey's voice shook, but it carried through the collapsing labyrinth. "Then be nothing." The chains snapped. The warden screamed, a sound that rattled the bones of the earth. His body shattered into fragments of light and ash, dissolving into the air. Silence followed. The labyrinth walls, once pulsing red, turned pale stone. The spirals dimmed, then steadied, glowing softly like the heartbeat of something finally at peace. Honey dropped to his knees, chest heaving. Meti curled against him, her fur singed but her eyes calm. "It's over," Honey whispered. Meti tilted her head, her voice still faint in his mind. "One battle, yes, but not the war. The warden was only a keeper. Something deeper still waits." Honey looked down at the moonstone. Its light was softer now, but stronger, steadier, like it trusted him. He clenched it in his fist and nodded. "Then we'll be ready." The labyrinth walls cracked open, revealing a path back to the forest. A cool wind swept through, carrying with it the scent of rain and pine. For the first time in what felt like centuries, the jungle outside seemed alive again. Honey stood, Meti leaping to his shoulder. Together, they walked into the light of the breaking dawn. But just before the labyrinth crumbled behind them, a whisper slid through the air, cold, patient, endless. "This is not the end. The shadow of time always returns." Honey tightened his grip on the moonstone and whispered back, "Then so will we." And with that, they disappeared into the forest's embrace, the next chapter of their journey waiting just beyond the horizon.